Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are doing chapter 8. This is so much fun because today we are doing timing, the most important aspect of communication by far, by a bazillion. Anything else we've talked about thus far, it's important in communication, your soft voice, the outcome you're looking for shalom, looking for connection, but timing is everything. Okay, let's get started. We're on Marriage Secrets, chapter 8, page 194. Timing. Here is the final point in our hot toolbox, timing. This chapter is called Communicating for Results because of the importance of focusing our attention on what is going on to produce what's going to produce the best outcome. So often we say what's on our mind because we feel a sudden urge to get it off our chest. But when the conversation doesn't go well, we tend to blame the other person rather than considering that perhaps with a bit of planning, things might have truly gone exactly as we'd hoped. Slowing the whole communication process down goes against the pace of everyday life nowadays. So it can be quite challenging to stop ourselves from blurting out the very first thoughts that come to our mind. But planning well and using the best timing will reap the rewards that we're looking for in communication. Planning well. The secret to timing is to carefully determine which methods of communication work at the best times. For instance, the morning rush is obviously not the time to discuss the credit card bill, if there ever was a good time to discuss it. But planning would mean that you would serve dinner to your husband, put the kids to bed, and give advance warning saying, "Sorry to say, but the credit card bill came. Does a discussion about it later tonight work for you?" It's very helpful to match various communication types with particular times. For instance, perhaps mundane issues such as scheduling the car repair might be best handled by a phone message or email during the day. And serious matters such as how to discipline a child can be discussed at the end of the day in private. And discussing your summer vacation may be best at a private dinner. Updating each other about scheduling might be best communicated by writing out a list and leaving it on his desk. You have to see what works best in your marriage. But with creativity, my students have been able to avoid confrontations simply by altering the timing or method of delivery, especially regard to topics that are stressful. It's also crucial to schedule in listening time and time to just relax and have fun, where serious matters are off limits. Try not to pile too many nerve-wracking points into one conversation. Prioritize your issues and leave topics out unless they are urgent. The more forethought you give things, the better the discussions will go. So often problems occur not because of the content of the issue, but because it wasn't broached at an appropriate time. Always ask yourself, is this the most productive time to bring up this issue? If you wait until you have both eaten dinner, won't things go better? Have you recently complained about so many things that bringing this up now will just add to the pile? Learning the best timing for your marriage is crucial to communication effectiveness. It's also extremely helpful to give your husband the heads up. Say something like, "We need to get back to our friends about the wedding invitation and also discuss our daughter's seminary choices. Do you want to discuss it now or save it for after dinner?" This avoids a husband feeling like his wife is always dumping stuff on him and he can never get any peace around the house. Whenever possible, make it safe for him by bringing up stressful issues only with his agreement. When you know that a conversation is going to be particularly challenging, be very upfront about it. Say, "Unfortunately, we really need to decide whether we are going to take that new apartment or not. I know you prefer it and I don't, but I'm hoping we can resolve it somehow. I was wondering if you think we should go for a walk while we talk to try and make it less tense? Or maybe you have a better idea of how to discuss it without getting uptight with each other." Also, try to be more thoughtful about what issues are crucial to bring up. Sometimes we share so many nitty-gritty details that our husband can't process it all, and we end up feeling less supported. Sometimes we need to take care of things without our husband realizing there was a problem. Not every issue should be analyzed and scrutinized. By carefully thinking about how to decrease our husband's burden, we can end up getting more attention for the issues that are most important to us. These kinds of preparations may seem trivial, but they truly set the stage for success and help to align your goals so that you're both determined to handle the communication as kindly as possible. It takes trial and error and practice, but this work is so fruitful for the serenity in the home. Okay, ready for your questions?
Okay, perfect. So we have one about a husband wanting to wind down. So okay. Toby asks, my husband has been so bogged down with work recently and comes home really late, and all he wants to do is plop down on the couch, watch TV, and then go to sleep. He's sweet to me when he walks in and is grateful when I hand him his dinner, but then we almost hardly speak until we go to sleep. I totally understand that TV is mind-numbing and a quick escape from the daily grind, but I can't help but feel a little bit badly that he would rather watch TV than sit down and hang out with me. Am I being too sensitive? And should I just let him do what he needs to do to unwind? Second part of the question. We do spend time together on Shabbos. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Excellent question. Beautiful question. And the first question I have on your question is, what did your husband say when you told him exactly what you just said to me? Right? So the exactly how you said it and what you said was beautiful. I don't know if there's any part I would leave out, but I mean, in other words, if you said to him, I totally get it. I get where you're coming from. I don't know what to do about this. And you take, I'm cupping my hands for you podcasters, you're taking the problem and putting it in his hands. Here's how are we going to solve this? Because it kind of, I want more time with you. I love you. I want to be with you, and I get you need to veg out. And then, if let's say he watches 2 hours of television shows, so can he watch an hour and a half and then spend half an hour with you? Maybe that's too much. Maybe that isn't vegging out enough. And maybe in that half an hour, you say, oh, okay, well, we got a call from the principal and so Johnny's in trouble. And we have, where our credit card balance went back, you go like, so now you're ratcheting it up. Like he just calmed down and, so I don't know what the solution is. I get it. He needs that. It depends on if he's watching a half an hour or whether he's watching 4 hours of television to wind down. I mean, how much winding down does he need? It could also be that he's, addicted to some, thing some show that he, whatever, as a fantasy life. I'm not sure. It's a tough call. It's a really tough call. In terms of what he needs, what he really doesn't need, what is winding down and what is addiction. And look, I'm not an addictionologist. I know nothing about that area. Get yourself a therapist or whatever if you have any worries about people being addicted. But almost everybody I know would say that in the addiction field that people are addicted to their phones. I don't know what the exact definition of addiction is, and you can do that homework to speak to somebody about that. But I'm just saying, what I'm looking for is the subtlety of what he volitionally can make a difference with. I mean, what choices do we have? What choices do you guys have? And that is something that can only be done in a communication with him. And in that communication with him, the crucial issue is your kindliness. That if you approach him and say, accusing and I want this, and you don't meet my needs, and whatever, it's just going to go south very fast. South is bad. It's going to go bad. Well, it's not south in general. We have South African people on our team. Whatever, but it's going to go bad. Okay. So the point is that you really need to think about how can you communicate it to him. The question you asked, it seemed very sweet and nice. Now, I'm not your husband, so I don't know. I don't have any you're not triggering me, or you're not making me feel bad for not treating you well. So you have to really be careful how you word it. But that seemed like a beautiful communication. And then see what he says, put the problem in his lap and say, I'm not sure how we should solve this because you have your needs to unwind and to relax or whatever, but I have my need for connection. Could it be during dinner? We don't have any, you didn't tell me whether during dinner you have no screen time. If you put your phones aside and he's there for you, that might have to suffice for you for a while. Or it could be you say, can we read a book together, and get some, thrilling novel. There's some really good Jewish novels out there. Shout out to Nachman Seltzer. There's some great there are some great novels that you could read together and just, go through, 15 minutes a night, and it'll take you some time to get through them, and it'll be something you share together. I don't know. We could learn Torah together. He may or may not be into it. It may or may not be a good way to connect. Usually learning Torah, if the woman is totally respectful of her husband and realize that he is bringing, spirituality into their home and whatever, and even if she's smarter than him and knows more than him and has better trained than him, she grew up in the system and he's a Baal Teshuva, whatever it is, if she gives him the respect the man so craves and desires, that could be a very powerful way to connect, without ratcheting up stress. So you have to play with it. You've got it's definitely a trial and error type of a situation. But I just felt like your question to me was beautifully written, beautifully expressed, totally felt like you got him and got like, what do I do? This is what his needs are. So, needs are, he has his needs, you have your needs. They have to be balanced out with each other. And that brings closeness. So good luck with it, but you have to have a conversation with him that very well thought out conversation. Good luck.
Okay, beautiful. Okay. Manucha's question is, my husband has so much on his plate that I feel like I don't want to burden him with my problems. Should I be sharing my problems with him, or should I find a friend or sister to share them with? Our time together is so limited anyways. Maybe it's better to share only the good and keep our conversations light and positive.
That's good. But you want to be going through life with him. You know what I'm saying? So it's very kindly of you. And I do tell women, if you got a lot of complaining to do, some people are more complainers than others. Other people I know who like to complain a lot. But anyway, find friends that you complain to, because you can dump a lot of it. And then, by the time you've told this friend who, you complain to, by the way, a good friend is somebody who you complain a lot and she complains. In other words, you're balanced out. You're not just the complainers. You just become a big burden to her, but you listen to her. What's going on with you? Oh, that's so sad. And you give her the same sympathy. So that's got to be equal. But in any case, if by the time you talk to this, you complain to this lady, this lady, this lady, by the time you get to your husband, you're kind of bored already with it's like you got all the juice out of it. And so when you tell it to him, it's not this like every detail of then my boss said this, and then she said that, and I answered this, and I had a really rough day with my boss. She said this. I answered this. Now I'm just kind of like, I'm done with it. Whatever. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any advice? Men love to give advice. Like that. So that would be, yes, I agree. Lessen it, but I don't think you can hide who you are from your husband. If you are going, you're not just sharing the good stuff with him, because it's not real. It's not emes. It's not, again, you've got to balance it. Don't make them crazy by complaining all the time. But sometimes men love to hear, I had this problem, here's how I solved it. That would be a great way to be real with him, but also not burden him. So again, this is a trial and error. You've got to practice these kinds of things, see what works. If it is that you're complaining to all your friends and then you just feel frustrated because he doesn't know what's going on in your life, so you might have to complain a little bit more to him. But your desire not to complain to him, should be lauded, should be applauded, should be, good on you. It's great. Good. Keep up the good work, but also realize that he needs to share your life. You need to share your life with him so that you can have that closeness. Excellent question.
Beautiful. Okay. Sharing her whole self.
Yeah.
Okay. Dana asks, when I express my anxiety regarding our financial situation with my husband, he gets really stressed out. But I feel like I shouldn't discuss finances with other people because it's private, sensitive information. I just feel like I need someone to vent to about it. What do you suggest?
It's a good question, but it depends on, remember, we're working on outcome, what the outcome you're looking for. I can't imagine that having conversations to relieve you of stress about money is going to make more money. Like, it's almost the opposite. It's like if you are just happy with your lot and you're fine and, whatever, I think you'll do better in terms of bringing more bracha into the home. Now, there are issues with finances that do need to be discussed. Like, I realize that, we're spending far too much money on marshmallows, silly example, but, whatever, like we're buying too much beef. And I think maybe we should cut it down and have a little bit more, have another pasta night instead of a chicken night or whatever, we need to cut back a little bit on these things. Or, I recognize that you really like, having schnapps for Kiddush and offering it to everybody, but it's really not in the budget. What do you think we can do? So there are some conversations that, if handled nicely, can be productive in terms of helping your household budget. I have a great show called How to Make Your Husband Rich. Go watch that. Everybody stop what you're doing. No, watch the end of the show and then go to Ladies Talk Show, www.ladiestalkshow.com, and type in rich, R-I-C-H, or make your husband rich, or whatever. That show will talk about how to increase the finances in the home. And it's guaranteed. It's all from Shemaim. It's all like our Masorah for how to do it. Doing it might be hard, but the directives on how to do it are clear from Chazal. So, but in any case, for this situation, I don't know that saying, when you're talking to a friend and saying we're having financial issues, you don't need to say, we're short, $4,000 on our tuition this year. You don't need to give them the details, but you could say, I'm concerned with finances. Do you have any advice on how to have bitochen in Hashem, how to faith in my husband, how to have, show my husband more respect so more money comes in the house? Do you have some tips on that? I don't think there's a problem talking to a friend about finding that you have financial worries. And if that helps you from burdening your husband with it, I think that's a fine plan. The other issue is that if you see that you're discussing it makes your husband more ratchets up his anxiety, that can only be bad for your financial future. So, cease and desist on that, I think. But it could be, I'm not sure, and this is, your husband better than I do, so this is a trial and error thing. It could be that you say to your husband, sometimes I get stressed about money. I grew up this way, or I have total confidence in you, and just things are getting better and better over time. And even though our income has gone down for the last few years, I can see a really positive future for us. Give him a lot of bullshit. I mean, unless it's total lie, but a partial lie. No, but in terms of encouraging someone, you might, a kid comes to you and they colored a picture and it like, you can't even tell what it is. And you're like, oh, what a great job. It's a frog. Oh, it's a lizard. Oh, it's an apple. I see how it's an apple. Whatever. You give encouragement. It's not like it's lying, but it's like, it's encouraging them. So same thing with your husband. He's not your child, obviously, but you want to build him up like you'd want to be built up. But it could be that you could have a conversation with him and saying, do you have any advice for me? Because of my childhood, I'm worried about money, or because, my father went bankrupt when I was a teenager. So I'm always scared, like the rug's going to drop out can you just calm me down about this? Or, it could be you look to him for support. But if the way you bring it up makes him anxious, I would try and not do that at all costs, because that's going to be counterproductive to what you're doing. You're not going to feel relieved. He's going to be more stressed, and it's going to infect his income in a bad way, in a negative way. So I think, I've given you a lot of sort of options of how to go here, not knowing the exact specific case of what you're saying and what he's feeling and what your financial thing is. But if you have a lot of financial hangups, like, you're just a mess, which is true for many people, you might seek counseling for it. I mean, I'm not talking about 3 years of deep, look into your childhood, just, 2 or 3 sessions where you talk to somebody and say, I can't get it out of my head a lot of the time. And it kind of just hovers over me. And, and then if it's a good, firm therapist, somebody whose base is Torah, they might say things that have to do with bitochen and emuna and, your relationship with your parents, that they weren't there for you, whatever it is, you can sort of see some insights that have caused you to be the way that you are. And that can be very, very helpful in shalom bayis, in you understanding yourself, so you don't schlep your husband down, bring him down? Okay. Wow. These are really good, deep questions. Okay. Go ahead.
Beautiful. Okay. So Shayna asks, my husband often.
No, this is our last question, right? I don't think we.
I think so. It's a lot. Yeah. I think so. Shayna asks, my husband often complains to me about my social media use, and it really bothers me. I don't want him to be my policeman or my rabbi. I've told him so many times to stop mentioning it to me. I really try not to be on my phone when he is around and only when I'm alone, but it still bothers him that I'm on it in the first place. Is it such a big deal? If this is such a big deal to him, do I need to cut back even if I love social media? I guess it's a very generational problem right now, right?
Yeah, I hear. So the problem is that, he is responsible for the spiritual growth in the home. The wife is also, but the husband will be held accountable after 120. Well, probably the woman will too, but the way I just heard it actually recently is that the man is responsible for that. But anyway, whoever's responsible, let's just leave that point aside because it's not 100% clear. But the issue that you're talking about is if your husband started a diet and he says, okay, I'm going on my diet Monday morning. I'm starting, and finally I'm going to lose this extra weight that I gained, And then Monday morning he opens the fridge and he takes out the cheesecake, right? And this is the same. I use this example usually with a woman, like if the husband were to say, are you really want to eat that? You would be like, you want to punch him in the nose. So that's the example I usually give when I'm talking about, a woman trying to tell a husband he should wake up for Shacharis and that he should go learn more. And why doesn't he spend more time in the base medrash? Why isn't he learning? Like, hello, it's not your business, just like it's not his business if you're eating cheesecake on your diet. So reverse this. If your husband is on his diet and you say something about why are you eating that cheesecake? Again, it's not really your business to say that to him. So a little bit here, it's a little bit the same thing that you did tell him, don't tell me, whatever. But here's an argument that you can use for him, or a conversation you can have with him, which is you can say, if this happens to be true for you. And, by the end of your question, when you said, should I just cut back because he said so, which is a beautiful thing to even think. But you can say to him, that led me to realize you're open to this conversation that you could have with him, which is to say, listen, I hear, again, you're both well fed, well rested, and you've got special time where you're no interruptions, so you can have a real heart-to-heart conversation. I hear what you've been saying about social media, and I've given a lot of thought, and I think, if I would have to choose, I would want to choose to be the kind of person who didn't want to do so much social media, who wasn't so addicted to it, who didn't get such thrill out of it. I wish, I wish I would like to grow to be that type of a person. I'm not there yet. But what I want to share with you is the best way you can be to support me in that. So if you come along and say, "Why turn off the social media? Why are you doing social media?" Whatever, that makes me dig in my heels and my whole Yetzer Hara takes over my whole body, and I'm like, go away, say it in the nicest possible way. Maybe don't say go away, but say, it just really, like the hair on the back of my neck stands up. I'm being very melodramatic. Say it softly. Let me just restart. When you say those kinds of things, it triggers me and makes me not want to listen. And that's the definition of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is like, you're going to, try and zap me right at the target. I'm going to, go in the opposite direction. So if you really, really want to support me in slowing down with the social media, what I think, and maybe we can brainstorm this, husband dear, what I think might be the most positive way to support me in this is to just give me praise when I'm not on social media. Like if you come in the room and I'm reading a magazine, say, "Oh, I'm so proud of you reading a magazine instead of being on social media." Or if you come in and you see that I cooked up a whole thing and you knew, wow, the whole day I was cooking, I wasn't on social media, to give me praise. Now, some women would find that annoying. Like, what do you think? I'm a baby, but some women would say, "Oh, he gets it," So you have to know yourself. But actually feed him lines on what he can do to support you in this growth that you likely want to grow in the first place. And the reason we know you want to grow that way is because that's what the Gedolim are saying. They're saying cut back on social media. So, they're seeing the global picture of, the collective neshama of Klal Yisrael, of our whole nation, of what would be better for our nation. So we all are trying to lessen our addictions to phones and screens and, things like that. And the titillation of, hearing about, what the celebrity did and what this royal did and, whatever. Everybody, I get a lot of people who are saying it's so pulls you in. And we're all trying to bolster our fences around us to be holier and stronger and withstand the temptations that are all everywhere around us. And so good on you. You should be proud of yourself, and everybody who's watching should be proud of themselves, because right now you're watching a Torah show, not something else. So, this is the best part of social media, is that you're able to learn Torah with using these devices. But there's still, these devices are taking away a lot of the heart and soul of people, and it's a little sad. But anyhow, the point I'm making for you individually is that to have a conversation with your husband of how to best support you in this growth, to be completely patient with you, to not expect you to turn around overnight, that, it might be 3 or 4 years out before you're clean of this in a great way. And you can say, look, right now I have that thing on my phone that tells me how much social media I'm doing a day, and it turns out that it's 3 hours a day. I'm hoping by the end of the year it'll be 2 hours a day, and the year after that, an hour a day. Set goals for yourself in this, and that are reasonable and that aren't too big of a jump from where you are. And but say, I really would love your support in this, and coming in and yelling at me about it ain't working. Okay, these are beautiful, beautiful questions. Hashem should bench everyone who's watching with growth in this area and strength in this area. And the homework for this week is one time this week when you are feeling frustrated about not being able to communicate with your husband, to actually sit down with your journal or index card or on your computer and write down, how can you communicate that thing that is hard to communicate? How can you communicate that to your husband in a way that is going to be most effective, that he will hear and that you will feel heard? Okay, it's Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next time. If you want more, we have so much more. If you want to learn our Masorah and have an awesome marriage, the first thing we have is a foundations course. It's a 13-week course. You get all your questions answered. It's live with me, and you can ask Q&A. It's awesome. Second thing we have is a coaching program. If you are awesome with people and you want to know the Masorah better than 99% of the people on the planet Earth, like for reals, okay? It's a 4-month program. It's very intense. We have major scholarships, and we have somebody who's granted in a lot to pay for a big bulk of it. It's still a little expensive, but for what you get, and then you can start charging money to know it. That's the coaching program. Don't miss it. Go to www.ladiestalkshow.com. Look up the foundations course, look up the coaching. We do retreats, we do all kinds of stuff. You'll find it there. www.ladiestalkshow.com. Thanks for being with us. Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show.